So now let's introduce the man of the hour. Um, I think you all know him, but let's bring him on. Everyone, give it up for Nasty-Nes.
Oi, can you
Oi,
hear me? Can you
yes,
hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yep,
Yep.
yep,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Yes?
yep.
I'm just messing with you. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta
No
make my
worries.
grand entrance.
Oh
Okay,
yes.
I have to do this because of COVID-19.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I'm being safe, but I haven't got my vaccine shot yet, so I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna take this off. You
No
ready?
worries.
Everybody
Yep,
ready? Here we
yep.
go. Ta-da!
Oh, what's going
What's up?
on?
Oi,
What's
what's
up?
going on, man? How you doing?
Doing all right, doing all right. Just starting off a Monday. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I know you got a busy schedule and stuff like that, and thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Man,
Awesome.
I wouldn't miss this for the world. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been going on 41 years doing this, believe it or not. And even though I don't look like I'm 80 years old, it's because I'm Filipino. We all look young. This is all mascara and makeup, so it makes me look young. But I gotta say, I feel really blessed at this age to still be recognized and people asking me to do interviews. Because 41 years ago, I never thought this was going to happen, man. Um, but to still be acknowledged and recognized now, it's an honor. And I have to thank you, Dilemma, because people like you are the ones that keep my legacy alive. And if it means anything, I just want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate the time you're giving me. Seriously, straight up, man. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Okay, so let's go into that because I'm sure everyone's really curious about your story. Some people have heard some of your story, but let's get to the bottom. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Okay.
So let's start off. So you were born in the Philippines.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
I was actually, I used to be embarrassed
okay,
saying where I was born,
okay.
but you know what? I gotta be straight up and honest. You know why I'm not embarrassed anymore? Because Cobra Kai Karate Kid 2's best episode was
Yeah,
filmed in Okinawa.
yeah.
And that is where I was born. I was born on Okinawa, and the only reason why is because my mom, when she lived in the Philippines, she got a job in the military base, and that was her way of one step towards the United States. So she moved us to Okinawa. I just happened to be born in Okinawa
Wow,
in the military hospital. So I was born there, but yo, man, I'm straight up 110% Pinoy,
yeah,
Pinoy pride.
for sure. Yes. So you're born in Okinawa.
I lived there for 10 years, but we'd always visit the Philippines every year. But yeah, for 10 years, and then from there, moved to the United. Wow, you got that picture? That was my last day on Okinawa. Was
Oh, wow.
that picture right there before we took the trek to the Philippines
Mhm.
and Hawaii? Boy, I'll never forget that. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So then you moved to Seattle.
Oh, those pictures are killing me, man.
Yeah.
But, I love them. Just for
Throwback.
everybody to know, I'm the guy in the middle, okay? Not the
Okay.
guy on the right.
Okay, so you moved to Seattle.
Yeah.
How was that? Was it a culture shock for you?
It was because at that time, and that was around 1970 when we moved to Seattle, to the States. My only knowledge of what Seattle looked like was from this TV show called Here Comes the Brides. It was a big hit show on ABC channel, and they played it, in Okinawa on the base all the time. And in the TV show, it was based. I didn't even know it. It was based upon Seattle back in the 1800s.
Oh,
It was just horses and horse buggies. So I
yeah,
thought, oh man, we're moving to that. And
yeah.
then when we landed in Seattle, and my uncle worked at Boeing, and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe I'd never seen buildings like that. I never seen freeways. At the time, 75 miles an hour was the speed limit, and it was
Mm.
driving so fast. I was really shocked, and I go, wow, man, a lot of different kind of people here, and yeah, for a minute there, I was so angry, uh, moving there, but now, I'm just so thankful that my mom moved both my sister and I, to the states, especially Seattle. I mean, I had no clue what I was going to do in Seattle, but it's been a huge blessing to this day.
Hmm. Yeah. So from that point, I believe Did you get into martial arts first, or did you get into hip hop and DJing? Or sorry, DJing?
Oh no, martial arts first, and kind of how that happened. And my teacher, Sifu Taki Kimura, who recently passed away in January, I think January 7th, he passed away. He pretty much raised me as a kid. When I was really young, I was maybe around 10, 11 years old when I first met him, because he owned a grocery store in Seattle that my mom and I would always shop at.
Mhm.
And I was kind of a problem kid, because I didn't have a father figure living with us. It was just my mom and I, because my sister lived in New York. She went to New York University, and she just couldn't control me. That's how bad I was. And she would always talk to my Sifu Taki Kimura, ask him for advice, and then he said, you know what? After Bruce Lee passed away, I saw in the newspaper. I go, Mom, hey, that's the guy in the grocery store. He knows Bruce Lee. She goes, oh, she goes, yeah. I go, hey, I want to learn kung fu from him, because at that time I was taking Hung Guard Kung Fu from John Leon in Chinatown, Seattle, probably the oldest school there. So he took me under his wings, and I'm the youngest student of Bruce Lee's Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute when I was just 13 years old. He took me under his wings. I'll never forget it. He's been a mentor, father figure, and if it wasn't for him, I would probably be locked up somewhere right now. But he really was the man figure for me, and I think it's really important that we have people like that, especially kids who don't have full-time fathers. If they have a father figure or a mentor, I mentor a lot of people, like even Dilemma, and I try to share with them what I learned, and try to guide them in the right direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. No, that's awesome. And so obviously you were training from 13 years old on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't ever get me mad, because I know it's Chinese kung fu.
Nice. That's awesome. That's amazing.
I'm just playing, man.
Yeah. So I just want to jump back, because I thought these pictures were really cool. Pictures of your ride.
Oh yeah, I was one of the first lowriders in Seattle. I had the hydraulics. I only had it in the front. It's funny because that was my mom's car, and she got so mad. How I lowered it the first time was I took it to a welder and they cut the coils, and then I bought a bunch of sandbags, heavy cement bags, and put it in the trunk to make it look low. And, oh, my mom was so mad. But like I was so out of control. She had a hard time controlling me. Yes. And then so my friend, hydraulics started coming to fashion, in Washington. So I had hydraulics put on. So if you raise the car a little bit, it makes the ride a little bit smoother. Yep. But it was like it attracted attention. So wherever I drove, I had a small steering wheel, with an interior with it was all like carpet to carpet interior with dingle balls around the I had the wheel in the back. Oh man, and it was my car was so dope, man. And then I would have the hydraulics. But the funny thing about the car, it had everything, but it didn't have air conditioning in it. So, I remember we would cruise in Seward Park, and I wanted to impress the ladies, right? So I go, man, and I had black tinted windows, and didn't want people to see me. And so I would drive up the hill in Seward Park with the windows rolled up, and my friends would get mad because it was so hot in the car. I go, come on, just pretend we have air conditioning. Yeah, man. I never forget that, but I didn't have air conditioning, but we look really cool with the tinted windows.
Oh, yeah. No, it looks slick. What year did you modify it and do all that work to it?
Oh, man, I was in high school, maybe 78. I think that Burrito was in 1976, 78. Yeah, I missed that car. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Neosix asks, what happened to the car?
A friend of mine, he ended up moving back to Oakland. He needed a car, and then I graduated to a Cadillac. So I said, here, you can have my car. And he took it, and then he said it ended up breaking down out there. And I guess I don't know what happened after that, man. But, yeah, so it died peacefully somewhere. Yeah. And then I started driving Cadillac, and then I started buying a Benz. Next thing I know, I had a Cadillac, a Benz. Next thing I know, I was driving a Rolls Royce, and the next thing I know, I was broke. But I had nice cars. But I was broke.
Oh,
but
man.
Look, dude, I had air conditioning.
This time you had air conditioning. You learned.
Yeah, but I was broke.
Yeah.
Couldn't afford gas.
Life lessons, right? How did you get into DJing?
Oh, my at the time I think I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. I used to work at a health club, and at the health club I would train like the Seahawks members. I would work them out on the weights. I would train them, and one of the members, she was a hairdresser, and her name was Eddie Locke, and we became really, really good friends. And she said, "You know what? Why don't I? Would you mind if I cut your hair at my mom's house? That way you wouldn't have to pay full price. It'll be a lot cheaper. So opposed to just paying like $10, opposed to paying like $40 going to a salon. I chose the $10 route.
Yeah.
And when I would go to her mom's house, uh, her brother used to DJ at a club in Federal Way called Spectrum nightclub, and he was also radio DJ on a station called 1250 KYAC. And I used to hear him upstairs playing music really loud, mixing on the turntables, and it sparked my interest. And that's how that started. He invited me to the radio station at KYAC to answer the phone calls, request lines. I did that. I was like, wow, you get to play all this music, you get all these single girls calling on the request lines. Oh man, how can I get a job doing this, man?
Yeah.
So he gave me advice, and we'll talk more on what developed after that. But yeah, I probably started DJing uh, maybe around 16, about 17 years old, because he also did he DJ'd weddings and high school reunions, so he would take me with him.
Yeah.
And I remember one gig he took me to. He goes, if I don't come back by the time, because he had to go to the bathroom. He goes, if I don't come back by the time uh, I'm not here, I need to go on the mic and announce something and start the next record. Oh man, I was so scared to talk on the mic, and he purposely did that so I would learn how to get on the mic and talk. And I used to be really scared in front of crowds. you know,
That's
so
hard
I
to
did.
believe.
Oh, I know. Now you can't shut me up in front of a mic, but yeah, that's how I started. It was a reunion, a high school reunion. Maybe it was a Franklin high school reunion. I was so young back then, man. But yeah, so that was my first taste into that, and of course, going to visit my sister in New York. Her best friend worked at a station called 92 WKTU, and that
Mhm.
was the home for mixers John Jellybean Benitez and the Latin Rascals. And when I went up to the station with her to meet her friend, I got to meet all these DJs and the on-air personalities, and I go, "Wow, this is really nice," and you actually get paid to do this. And so I just took Ed Locke's advice and went to Bellevue Community College, which is still there, and they have you take communications 101, and that was the only class in my whole life where I got straight A's in, because I barely graduated from high school, man. I wasn't really a kid who enjoyed going to school, but that was my last wish before my mom died of cancer when I was 18. She wanted to see me graduate, and I graduated. Well, I went to Seattle Prep. I got kicked out, and then I ended up graduating from Roosevelt High School. So Roosevelt High School, Rough Riders. Yeah, and yeah. So I graduated, and yeah, that's what's up.
Is this you in high school DJing?
That was maybe right out of high school. Back in those days, I thought if I wore a suit and tie, I would impress the women. And that was before the sunglasses came in. So I figured, all right, I want to wear a suit and tie. And then I used to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal, whatever the paper was, to make it
Yep.
look like I was reading the stocks, even though I don't know a thing about it. So it was just kind of a front. It worked for a minute, but I wasn't comfortable in that image. So the way you see me now, that's my image.
Yeah, yeah. And we will show a bunch of those pictures where that came about. So yeah, from that point, how did you get into radio?
Well, when the station I was telling you about, my hairdresser, her brother, he was working at 1250 KYC.
Yeah.
So around 79, 1980, the station ended up getting sold to new owners, and the new station was going to be 1250 KFOX.
Yeah.
So when I went to Bellevue Community College, everyone there, my teachers said, "You are good enough to be on that radio station, and you sound like this guy named Ed Locke." And they didn't know I knew who Ed Locke was. Ed Locke was my hairdresser's brother. Because you sound just like him. Because I would imitate him and try to copy how he sounded, and they should copy another on-air DJ named Robert L. Scott. And they said, you should apply for a job there. So I would go there every week, try to apply for a job. And finally, the new owner, his name is Steve Mitchell. I'll never forget that day. He was in the production studio and he said, all right, Nestor, I want you to cue up this record. And at the time, we were playing vinyl. So I did that. Oh, that's easy. So I did that. And then he goes, hey, how would you like to fill in starting next week? I go, yeah. And, I said, even if it was for free, I would do it. So that's how I got my first job, was doing that. And then, I wasn't on the air right away. I would board out, meaning I would play voice tracks, press the buttons for commercials. And then when I did go on the air for the first time, I was doing the weather report, because the guy that was supposed to do the weather report didn't show up for work. So he goes, hey, they called me Nestor back then. Hey, Nestor, I need you to do a weather report real quick. So I said, you sure? He goes, yeah. So I said, all right. So I called all my friends. I go, hey, turn on the radio, man. I'm about to be on the radio. For real, on KFOX. He goes, you lie. I go, yeah, I'm going to be on. Just listen in, okay? Hold on. I'm about to go on right now. So then I went on. My exact words were, KFOX forecast, cloudy today, high of 55, low tonight, 39. Right now it's 32 on 1250 KFOX.
Nice.
Everybody heard it and they go, wow, oh, I know that guy. He did the weather report. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, definitely during that time, it was a treat to be on the radio, basically, right? It was like a celebrity, right?
Yeah, and I always wanted to be one, because my mom, she was so worried about me, and before she died, she was just so worried, like she didn't know what was going to happen to me in the future, and my dad really wasn't feeling me being a DJ until he finally flew to the States and came to the station. And I remember I interviewed him on the radio, and he just started crying, and he told me he was really proud of me. Wow. He wanted me to go in the army, and I'll say no, that's not for me. You know what I mean? I just love being behind the mic. I love DJing, and I still love it. The passion is still there, and I look at it this way: when you truly love something, even if you do it for free, you can get rich doing that. Because a lot of people that became millionaires and rich, they did it because they had a passion for it. They would do anything to accomplish their dream. And I used to live, eat, and breathe this, and I still do it, to this day. You can hear me on Sunday nights on RainierAvenueRadio.world on my radio show. It's something I really, really love. And I love acting, too. I love being in front of a camera acting, and I like doing that, too.
Definitely. So, yeah, we'll get into that. So I believe in 1980, you hosted the first hip-hop radio show in the West Coast called Freshtracks on KFOX. So you want to talk about how that came to be?
My boss at the time, he goes, he couldn't find someone to work on Sunday nights. So he asked me, he goes, hey, Nestor, what are you doing Sunday nights? I go, oh, nothing. Hey, how'd you like to work Sunday nights? And I go, sure. Well, let's do a show called Freshtracks. And on that show, you'll just play all brand new music. So at the time, rap wasn't really big yet. Yeah. So I would play new Kool and the Gang, new Prince, new Madonna, Michael Jackson, whatever was new. The show would just be 2 hours of brand new music. And then hip-hop started making some noise with Curtis Blow, Sugar Hill Gang. So I started playing that stuff too. And I noticed on Sunday nights, more people were calling in requesting the rap stuff than the Katy Pendergrass, Kool and the Gang, the R&B stuff. So I started getting tons of records from labels, hip hop records. Next thing I know, I asked my boss, "Can I play all rap?" Yeah, he wasn't really feeling it for a minute, but he goes, "You know what? Okay." But he thought, just like many of my listeners thought, it was going to be a fad. It's big right now, but it's going to fade away. And I go, nah. I predict 20 years from now, it's going to be so big where people can make a living off of this music. And my prediction was right. And so, one thing led to another. From that, ended up, I think what really made my show even bigger was playing local music. The first rap group in Seattle, the Emerald Street Boys, they used to do the intros for my show. Portland's Vitamix, I used to play him. And the big one was Sir Mix-a-Lot. Yeah. When we hooked up, he ended up being a guest on my show on Sunday nights, and it would be a blast. I would play all his songs he would make brand new and test it out. And that's kind of what led to NASTYMIX records and songs like Square Dance Rap, Posse on Broadway, Let's G, because people were requesting it.
Yeah, how did that connection happen? Did he just reach out to you, or
He did.
Yeah.
He did. I think it was maybe in 1983. He reached out to me on the phone, and I'd never heard of the guy, and he explained to me who he was. And then I realized, wow, we went to the same school together. We went to Roosevelt High School. I was 2 years older than him, but we never talked or anything. But he remembers me, but I didn't really remember him. Uh, so we talked on the phone. He told me about himself, and it was like, okay, yeah. And you got to remember, back in those days, really hip hop only came from New York, the Bronx. So to
Yeah.
hear like straight out of Seattle, aside from the Emerald Street Boys, I was like, all right, he's a computerized DJ. He likes to play with computers. What are computers? I didn't know what those were. Uh, but one night Ed Lock pulled my leg and convinced me to go to the boys' club in the Central District, where he always threw parties every weekend at.
Mhm.
And I said, "You sure you want to go, Ed? Because Ed's Chinese, and I'm being Filipino." I go, we're going to be the only Asians in there. he, goes, he goes, "Yeah, let's just go." I said, "All right, man." So we went to the boys' club, and everyone kind of like got quiet when they saw me. And few people knew who I was. A lot of people didn't, but it just looked kind of weird that these two, like, guys that looked like they're from a kung fu movie and an old Chinese movie walks in their dojo. Uh,
Yeah.
so we walked in there, and then I was like, oh, Mix-a-Lot had the dance floor packed, and I saw him scratching, rapping with the Smurf voice, playing the hits, and doing his own songs. Like, he had a hit record back then on cassette called Seven Rainier. He
Hmm.
had the dance floor packed, and if you weren't dancing, he'd get on the mic and cuss you out. And I was like, God, this guy is really good. So at the end of the night, we talked, and we said, let's meet up. And so we decided to meet up at my favorite restaurant in Chinatown, which is Tai Tung. It's still there, Tai Tung Restaurant. Oh, yeah. Uh,
Nice.
Dinner special number one's the best. At the time, it was only $3.25.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, Tai Tung, because that's Bruce Lee's favorite restaurant. And
Okay.
so we went there and we talked, and he gave me a cassette tape, and he said, play this and let's see what happens. I played it, and the rest is history. I mean, man, he was getting more requests for his music than a Michael Jackson song, than a Madonna song during the weekday. My boss was asking me, "Who's this Sir Mix-a-Lot that I've been playing?"
Yeah.
And then I told him, and then one thing led to another, and by '85, NASTYMIX Records was born.
If you can kind of touch upon that, how did Nasty Mix come together?
It was Ed Lock and Greg Jones. Greg Jones was kind of the money man. Ed Lock was the businessman, and Mix-a-Lot and I were their talent. It started with me, Mix-a-Lot, and Maharaji. That was the group, and we needed to come up with a name for the label. I thought of my name and Mix's name, and combined the two, Nasty Mix, and
Mhm.
that's kind of how that came about. And next thing I know, I was on the phone trying to get radio stations nationwide play our records. And we would do shows. We would actually get a rent a car, and our road manager at the time was Pinoy, Tony Zapata, and he would drive us all the way to the Bay Area and drive us
Wow.
back. And it was like me, Mix-a-Lot, Maharaji, and Tony in a small rental car. Woo, for like 22 hours one way. Can you
Wow.
imagine that? Oh.
Oh, man.
The first one we released was Let's G, and on the back of that was Square Dance Rap.
Square
Well,
dance rap.
Square Dance Rap really opened the doors for us, especially when KDAY in Los Angeles, which is an all rap radio station on the AM dial, they supported that record. And then people, radio stations in the South started playing Square Dance Rap, and that started the buzz. And then when we started doing shows, especially in the Bay Area,
Mhm.
uh, we got more and more people, listening in, playing our records, and my connection with DJs. I just have this kind of gift of gab of making friends with DJs, and they would play my records for me on their show, and
Yeah.
we would become best friends. I mean, right now I've got, man, I think every city in the state, man, I have a friend where I know if I couldn't afford a hotel, I could sleep at their house.
Yeah. For
And that's
sure.
how nice it is. It's like, getting to know Dilemma, getting to know you. We become really good friends. And if I asked you for a favor, if it was cool with you, you would help me out.
For
And
sure.
that's what they did. And then I thought, wow, Posse on Broadway. You know what? The biggest Broadway in the whole world is New York's Broadway, because I used to always go to New York. I bet you that would be a big hit in New York. And I was totally wrong. It was a big hit everywhere else except New York. And every city has a Martin Luther King Street. They have a Broadway, and it just really didn't hit in New York. On a few college stations, it did. I know, like Chuck Chillout, Awesome Two, Hank Love, those guys. These are old school names, but they're like legends in New York hip hop. They helped supported the record. And then MTV Raps, they came to Seattle and did a story on us. And I think that really put us on the map. I called my relatives everywhere in the Philippines. You just name it. I said, man, you watch MTV Raps because I'm going to be on MTV.
Yeah, definitely. So jumping back to that, so Posse on Broadway, because I pulled up the video.
Oh, yeah.
You're at the top of it right there.
Well, I helped write the beginning and the ending of the video because at the radio station KFOX, when they ended up getting sold in 1988, the new owners kept me on. They didn't fire me, but they said, we're going to cancel your rap show. You can't play any more rap. And I was like really depressed. Like, no way. You can't do that. It's the biggest thing we got here. And I said, no, I'm not going to stop playing rap. Next thing I know, they called me in the next morning or the next afternoon. They pulled me in the office. And for the first time in my entire life, I got fired.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man, I was so sad. I got fired. And, I just remember leaving there with a box of all my office equipment and everything. And I was so sad. And I was driving down North 405. And then my friend on the radio played Lean On Me by Bill Withers. And she announced to the public that I got fired. And she was so mad. And I just started crying and crying. And like, oh, how can this happen?
Yeah.
And then a few months later, a guy by the name of Don Yates from KCMU, he offered me, he goes, hey, how'd you like to take your show to KCMU, 90.3 FM? You'll be on the FM dial. You can do whatever you want to do. Just take the same show you had, Freshtracks, but take it to KCMU. And I go, wow, this will be great. So I did that, and I changed the name to Rap Attack. And so I was at KFOX from 1980 to 1988, and I was at KCMU from 1988 to 1998. And then I was also at Cube 93, where I started the first Hot Mix show on Saturday nights from like 1991 through 94, I think.
Okay. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I did a lot, huh? Man.
Yeah, you definitely did. That's why we're trying to cover everything, but
man,
I don't know. This might be a 3-part series.
Yeah, man, it's a lot.
So, Posse on Broadway, people started hearing about you guys more, and then you released in the '88 the debut album Swass, with Square Dance Rap, and then that put you guys on the maps. And NASTYMIX was able to grow. You moved from Western Avenue to the Tower Building.
Yeah, we were. Was it Western Avenue? Yeah, I remember it was like down near the water where the Seattle Times building used to be, Wall Street.
Yeah,
that was the first office, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And then when we moved into the Tower Building, that's when I knew. We moved into the Tower Building, and then when Mixler started driving Benzes, and Ed Locke had a mansion, I said, "Yeah, I think we're doing okay."
Yeah, you're doing all right.
Yeah, it was quite an accomplishment, man. I don't take things for granted, but I was so materialistic back then that I never really learned how to pay taxes or anything. Every money I had or got, I just went to buying jewelry, women, and partying, and well, that's a lesson that I learned from that, man, because I tell you, IRS, they will find you because they found me and Mix.
Oh, jeez. Oh, wow. From that point, so you added to the staff, you brought on promoters, DJ Ramon Wells, as well as music journalist Shockmaster Glenn Boyd.
That was my co-host on KCMU Rap Attack. Shockmaster Glenn Boyd, and he also wrote for the Rocket magazine. He actually did the first story on me in the Rocket magazine, which I've always appreciative of that, And Shelly Hart, we brought her on board. She used to be on Cube, and she's on, what is it, Warm radio station? But Shelly Hart was also at NASTYMIX. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. And then from that point, you guys went on tour with Public Enemy?
Yeah, it was Public Enemy. EPMD was on the bill. Kid and Play. Yeah, it was in those big Coliseum in New Orleans, Texas. Yeah, I'll never forget that. But I had the most fun really in Florida. It was some of my most memorable shows we did in Florida and the Bay Area. I was the original DJ in the beginning, then Kid Sensation ended up becoming the next DJ to cover my spot so I can concentrate more on promoting, taking them straight to the radio stations and doing radio interviews and so forth. And then, and I think by the time Mix left NASTYMIX, I hooked him up with DJ Punish. Punish used to be on Cube with me, and we were really good friends. And he's the guy scratching on Baby Got Back because he's an incredible DJ, you know. And so yeah, so after me was Kid Sensation, and then DJ Punish became his DJ.
How was that tour life for you?
Oh man, you know everything they say about rock and roll, sex, drugs, and rock and roll and women. It's true. It's true. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm married now, so I'm a good boy now. But back then, I wasn't that good. So I experienced all that. I regret a lot of the things I used to do because the after effects, like smoking and all that, has affected my health.
How long was that tour? Half a year, like 6 months, or do you remember?
Yeah, I didn't stay on the whole tour, but they would last a few months. After doing that, I really enjoyed staying home in Seattle more.
Yeah.
But it was fun while it lasted. Because Mix-a-Lot, after going to Miami, I thought the plane was going to crash because we had so much turbulence. After that one airplane flight, he vowed to never fly again. And I don't like driving because I get car sick. So I never went on the road again because he had a show in New York. He will drive to New York. Me, I have to take the airplane, man. So because of that, I just stopped going on the road a lot, you know. But I had a lot of fun, you know, a lot of memories traveling and meeting a lot of people and becoming friends with a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people pass away from then till now too, which is sad. Man, like even Prince Marky D of the Fat Boys, I remember meeting him and him coming up to the radio station. We did an interview right when Crush Grew, the movie came out. Seeing him pass away, I remember hanging out with Houdini and Ecstasy passing away. A lot of these people I knew. Guru from Gangstar, he's one of my good friends. So seeing people pass away, because we're at the age now where that's going to happen. You're going to start seeing people start to disappear, man.
Definitely. Rest in peace to all the ones we've lost. Definitely.
Yeah.
So then from that point, you know, obviously because of Mix-a-Lot's success, you guys were able to sign other acts, correct? Like High Performance, Kid Sensation, obviously, America's Most Wanted.
Yeah, man, it's funny you say America's Most Wanted because you know we actually discovered America's Most Wanted. My partner Brett Carlson and I, we had changed our name because of the TV show at the time was really popular, called America's Most Wanted, and we didn't want to get sued. So he came up with the name Criminal Nation. Yeah, I like that name. So Criminal Nation, we went on the road to like LA. High Performance, we went to even as far as New Jersey, the East Coast for those guys. And those memories were a lot of fun, going to Atlanta, because these guys are like, it was so new to them, you know? Mm-hmm. You know, me and Mix-a-Lot, we felt it, you know what it feels like, but to them, it's so new to them. Yeah. So it's really nice to introduce new faces to these DJs.
That's awesome. Yeah. You're the seasoned vets introducing the
newbies. I guess so. Yep.
That's amazing. And then you were featured on Eazy-E's single, Radio.
Yeah, an interesting story about that was I was actually supposed to fly down to LA and go in the recording studio and record my part. I think I had more lines in the song to do in the song. But I told Arabian Prince, I go, man, we just got on this tour with Public Enemy. I cannot miss this tour, man, so I can't go to LA. So they thought of a way. He goes, I'll tell you what, when you get to wherever you're going, go on the phone, call the studio. I have the answering machine on. I just need you to say these couple lines. So I did that, and he goes, yeah, turned out really good. I go, well, where on the record is that part at? He goes, we got you at the very ending. I go, are you serious? The ending? Ain't no one going to listen to the ending. He goes, trust me, it's going to be one of the best part of the song. So at the ending, it's like, hey, this is Nasty-Nes calling from Seattle. I'm calling to be on Eazy-E's new record, Radio. Mm-hmm. And then Dr. Dre comes on. He goes, man, you're late. The record's already up. And that's how it ends. And everyone remembers that part of the record. And I go, wow, you know, you're right. I'm at the best part of the record, the ending. At the time they weren't that popular yet, so I never asked for any money or anything.
Yeah.
Imagine if I got points or bonuses from that record.
Oh
Boy, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's still awesome that we still, yeah. See, look, DJ Newton says in the chat, we all heard that and remembered it for sure. Like,
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, you know what's cool too, because everyone in Seattle considered me a hero because I mentioned Seattle on that record, and when I first started out, I used to always brag about New York this, New York that, and if it wasn't for Mix-a-Lot, he guys to wear these T-shirts saying Bronx. He said to me, he goes, "Man, Naz, you're not from New York. You're from Seattle. You need to be proud that you're from Seattle, man. Let people know you're from the 206." I go, "What's 206? Area code." They go, "Oh, okay." So, because they would always wear like Mariner hats, Seahawk hats, jerseys, and started to make sense. I started, and then so now you'll always see me promote me being from Seattle because that's where it all started. That and my nationality being Filipino. I want people to know to be proud. Some people are embarrassed, but don't be embarrassed. That's your roots, man. Be proud of where you're from. If people don't accept you for that, then they're not worth being in your life. So yeah,
definitely. And then in '89, Mix-a-Lot came out with his second album, Seminar, which featured Beepers, My Hoopty, and I Got Game. How did that do?
Oh man, it did really good, man. Especially Beepers, because at that time, if you had a beeper, you were really cool. And I got to play the main guy from Sky Pager, and I had to memorize those lines, and everyone just loved that song because everybody had a beeper. They could relate to the beepers. And then with Hoopty, oh man, all my homies knew what a Hoopty was because they all drove Hoopties. Both of those tracks did really, really well, and of course, it helped the album Seminar go gold and platinum. So both albums, Swass and Seminar, both went gold and platinum. Nice. Sold over 1 million.
And I'm sure you have the plaque back behind you somewhere.
Oh man, I got tons of plaques, but yeah I definitely got those plaques. Yeah, those are the ones I cherish the most because that was my roots. It's where it all started.
So after Seminar, in '91, Sir Mix-a-Lot signed with Def American. What happened there?
He decided to bounce, and he left an option if I wanted to roll with him, or I could just stay at NASTYMIX. I wanted to pursue my career in radio, and and Ed Locke was the first guy to really give me a fair shot in DJing and everything, and I decided to stay at NASTYMIX Records, and I don't know if it caused tension between Mix and I. We're still really cool now. He still looks out for me, and I look out for him. But I always used to wonder, like when the Beatles break up, like why do they break up? They're so successful. Don't they like each other? I don't get it. And then when you actually had that success, taste of success, and so forth, you realize, okay, I get it now. I get it now. But I'm still cool with them. I mean, I'm still tight with Kid Sensation and Maharaj. And Maharaj and I are really, really close. So we still stay in contact. I don't really talk to Mix as much.
Yeah.
But when I need him, he's there he's there for me. And so we're cool.
If we look back, 85 to 91, 6 years, there was a lot of history there, a lot of memories. So you guys definitely built a huge bond. So I'm sure it was a little tough having that happen.
Yes, when you have two guys who have probably the same size egos, when they clash sometimes, it doesn't really work out sometimes. But we managed to get through it all, and I'm really proud of him because I'll never forget going to his place. He lived in the projects right by Rainier Beach with his mom, and I'll never forget going there in the projects. It meant nothing to me because when I first moved to Seattle, I lived in Yesler Terrace, so to me it was normal. But when you get older and you realize, damn man, that was the hood, the projects. To see him from there to now, because shoot, I used to give him money to buy McDonald's. So I'm really proud of his accomplishments, for real.
So let's move forward because it seems to be that's what led to your next phase in life, as far as helping other acts out and getting people discovered. So obviously in '92, unfortunately, NASTYMIX closes down.
Well, what happened was I decided to start my own company. Before I was Nasty-Nes, I was called the Crazy Pinoy because I was kind of crazy. I always like to fight a lot and start problems. So I was called the Crazy Pinoy. So I said, I'm gonna call my company Crazy Pinoy Promotions. No one knew what Pinoy meant unless you're really a true Pinoy. So
Yeah.
when I would call radio stations and DJs, they would say, yeah, some guy named Nasty from Crazy Pony. I go, no, it's Pinoy. Oh,
Yeah.
what's that mean? Filipino. And I think I'm responsible for putting that word on the hip hop map. But yeah, I started a Crazy Pinoy Promotions, and what I noticed is when people found out that NASTYMIX closed, labels started calling me up because they knew I knew how to promote their records to radio.
Yeah.
So like one of my first radio accounts that I promoted, which became really successful, were Paris,
Mhm.
the Conscious Daughters, and one
Mhm.
of my biggest accounts was Rakim. I used to promote Rakim, uh,
Nice.
and then that opened doors to the Wu-Tang Clan, Big Pun, Gangstar, a lot of these big acts. I was behind all that because if you came to my place, you'll see all these plaques on my wall because I promoted these groups. Yeah, it ended up becoming a blessing for me doing that. Instead of promoting Mixlot, I started promoting other artists. Crazy Pinoy probably ended like maybe around the year 2001 or so
Okay.
because I ended up moving out of Seattle to LA.
So you talked about Cube. On
Mhm.
Cube, you were there from 91 to 94 as a DJ, like radio personality.
Yeah, because they changed their format to a rhythmic station,
Okay.
meaning they were playing like all the cool dance stuff you'd hear in the clubs. They played hip hop, and so I would be the guy consulting them on the rap music stuff. I remember we used to play Easy E on there, N Too Deep. We would play all that stuff on Cube, and our ratings were sky high. I would be able to break a lot of new music Saturday nights in the mix, Saturday night hot mix, with DJ Punish and I on the wheels. Another guy named DJ Jess out of Fresno, he DJ'd with me. And those were some really classic days, a classic era for music.
That was the golden era of hip hop for sure.
Yeah, 90s especially.
Yeah. Okay. So after Cube,
I became the rap editor for Hits magazine. At the time, Hits magazine was probably the equivalent to a Billboard magazine. Every week, I would write a column and write about what's new in hip hop music. I
yeah.
would interview a DJ of the week. I would be invited to go to a lot of events in Hollywood, a lot of record release parties, and then write about it and post pictures. So I was the guy who kept people up to date, especially on what's happening with independent labels, a lot of independent artists. And,
Okay.
so I was like the outlet for that because, like, if you look at Billboard, it's all major label stuff. You never see any love given to independent labels. And I was doing that. I was giving love to all the independent unsigned labels, and they would actually, you know, uh, hit me up because they know I was there to help them out, and I've helped out a lot of groups.
Yeah, definitely. That's
Hmm.
awesome. That's it seems to be the common thread that you've kind of had since the beginning of your career was kind of helping out these unknown people or unknown artists basically. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, coming up in the business, I know what it feels like
Hmm.
when someone helps me out. Looks out for me. Even the littlest things, I know what it feels like. So I always like to return the favor. I've been taken advantage of many times. I've had people where I thought they were my friends and they do something behind my back. And, it really hurts a lot sometimes when that happens, but that's to be expected. But, I will forever be that guy who, you can rely on to look out for you, to help you out, to say a good word, to
Yeah.
motivate you, because I know what it feels like to be on the opposite end, and I learned through that.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm. Then I got fired for the second time in my life.
Oh,
I got I got fired from Hits magazine in around 2004, 2003, uh, and it wasn't because I wasn't doing my job, but that was when vinyl started disappearing.
yeah.
Napster was taking over. Uh, Labels were closing down.
Yeah.
So they couldn't afford me anymore, so they let me go. And then eventually I started promoting independent artists,
Mhm.
artists that aren't signed to record labels to help them get played on college radio, which is part of my business now. my assistant at the time said, you should take what you do and take it online because I predict that online is going to be the wave of the future. I go, really? He goes, so I go, okay, well, what do I call it? He goes, well, your column is called Rap Attack. Why don't you call it Rap Attack Lives? So it's like you didn't die, you're living. So Rap Attack Lives, and then put .com. So there you go,
Yeah.
rapattacklives.com, where they get their records played on college radio. And since then, I'm able to pay my rent every month and then put food in the freezer and in the refrigerator. And it's been a blessing because I've got some of the best, greatest DJs on my panel who continue to break a lot of independent music on their radio show, and I really appreciate them for doing that. Because college radio, you don't have to ask permission to play stuff. You can pretty much play what you want to play.
Yep.
And a lot of college stations, if it's after I think 9 or 10 p.m., you can play uncensored stuff. So, because radio's changed a lot. In my era, in my days, I was able to take a record and break it for the first time in the mix show. Now commercial radio, you have to play what they tell you to play. They give you a piece of paper,
Yep.
whatever, and say you can play this, 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 and this. So you got to play what they tell you to play. So you can't really break records anymore. But college radio, even though the show may be on once, maybe twice a week, at least you're getting some exposure there. So I'm really happy to still be doing that. At my age, man, I'm pushing all these independent artists. But I'm still in the game, man. I've been grooming my group, the High Children, for the last 2 or 3 years. They got a new song out called Masarap, which is a Filipino word for taste good. And then our female artist, JJ Hudson, I'm actually on the record. It's called J, which I think is going to be a big hit record, man. So I still dwell into that. I'm still involved with that. So right now, my priorities as far as my music goes is the High Children and JJ as far as my stuff. But I promote a lot of other artists too, which are also priorities. But they hire me out to promote their records.
Yeah, promotion. Like, so people who don't know, like, what were you doing with promotions? Were you just hitting up radio stations and stuff like that, or?
Okay, yeah. So what I do, let's just say that record that Dilemma played by Manny Pacquiao, and Manny wanted his record promoted. So he would send me his record on an MP3, and I would make sure, because all I got to do is press one button, and it'll go to all my DJs. So he would hire me out, and I would send it to all my DJs on my panel, and then every week I would track them to see if they're playing it, get their feedback, see if they're charting the record on their charts, and then I have a top 30 chart that shows, what's really hitting on the independent college radio tip. And like I said, if you go to rapattacklives.com, you'll explain when you look at the chart. So that's pretty much what I do, and then I'll have them twice a month. I do a conference call with these artists, and I have like 22 DJs on the call. I'll interview the artists, then I'll open it up to question and answers at the ending, and then I have them do what's called radio drops. Like, let's just say I had let's just say Rakim was my client. I'll say, hey Rakim, I need you to do a drop for Julius. So he'll do a drop like, hey, this is Rakim, and you're listening to Julius on the Caesar Salad Show, like that.
Yeah.
I have my artists do that for maybe about 30 DJs nationwide, because DJs are more likely to play your song when they have someone doing drops for you.
Yeah.
It sounds really cool. Yeah.
Yep.
I got tons of drops. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So are you? I guess, are you selective with the artists that you help promote, or?
In the beginning, I was.
Yeah.
And Jackie Paul, who used to be the head of rap promotions at a magazine called Impact Magazine in the East Coast, she passed away maybe a couple years ago. She told me never turn down an account unless the music is totally awful, awful. Never turn down an account. So I've worked a lot of records where I really didn't like, because I'm not always right, and there were records like I would play and end up becoming big hit records, and I remember being on the opposite end when they would approach me to play a record, and they said, this song, go nuts, you gotta play the song on the show. It's gonna be the next big record. And I played it, and I thought it was like one of the worst records in my life. And it was honestly, it was Rob Bass, It Takes Two.
Oh, wow.
when I first heard that, I go, "You're crazy! This song is so whack! Oh man, what's all this screaming and yelling on it? You sure?" And boy, was I wrong. It ended up becoming a classic to this day. So I'm not always right,
Yeah.
and I'm willing to play stuff and take chances. I think a true DJ is one who can DJ a wedding and keep the crowd happy. If you're a DJ and you can DJ a wedding, because at weddings there are people that are like rock, country, hip hop, jazz. You gotta please everyone. So
Yeah.
if you can have that mentality where you can read their mind and please them, you know, you'll be successful. So even if I don't like a record, there's something in that record that someone might like.
Mhm.
You might like it, but the other person might not like it. But if you like it, that's more props to the artist because you'll tell
Mhm.
your friend about this record, and it'll be like a snowball effect.
Definitely. Are there any other, I guess, artists or songs in particular that you thought weren't gonna hit that ended up taking off?
Oh man, there's quite a few. At the top of my head, a lot of those mumble rap artists, that I thought
Uh-huh.
was I can't remember their names, but they hired me to work it, and one became a humongous hit. And top of my head, I can't even remember who it was. But yeah, like I said, I won't turn down the record unless it's
Yeah,
really really bad. Because I have a reputation too.
for
Because
sure.
people might say, "Oh man, don't hire him. He only does it for the money." And I
Yeah.
never want people to think that I only do it for the money because I give a lot of people breaks where I don't charge what I normally charge, and I'll do it for a lower price to help them out.
So looking back, you've been graced with a couple awards.
Yeah, I got an award for the Jimi Hendrix Lifetime Achievement Award, and I remember his dad presented me with that award.
Yeah, the Gavin Award.
Gavin
Go
was
ahead.
another a publication where it was really big at the time. Where if you charted in Gavin magazine, your record was the hit record. And just to be acknowledged by Gavin at the time, coming out of Seattle, man, really meant a lot. So I've gotten like I think 3 Gavin awards because I was up against the owner of Loud Records, Steve Rifkin, and I won. I remember I went up against Funkmaster Flex,
Oh
and then
wow.
I won. So I was up against some pretty heavyweights, and from a guy who was born in Okinawa, to accomplish this. Oh, that's fine. I said, man, if my mom was still alive today, I think she'd be really proud.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, so actually, so you bring up your mom, and also in your dad. Were a lot of these you persevering to kind of be successful in this business? Was that attributed to trying to make your mom happy, or maybe prove your dad wrong?
Well, with my dad, I never had a live-in dad. He would come and fly over to visit me, and maybe once or twice a year. I love my dad, but he just never seemed happy with me until one day when I picked him up in the Rolls Royce and he came up to the radio station and he was happy, but I wasn't trying to impress him like that though. With my mom, she died when I was 18, so she never really got to see what happened in my life. But she was a very, very strict Filipino mom to the point where I used to just hate having her as my mom. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, because she would get mad if I didn't come home by 6 p.m. Boy, she would spank me. If I couldn't cuss in front of her. My friends always had to say Mrs. Rodriguez. It was just really, she was really, really strict, and I
Yeah.
couldn't understand. I couldn't understand why until I got older, and then I realized she was that way because she loved me.
Hmm.
And when you worry about someone like God, where's my son? How come he's not home? Is he okay? And it's only 5 in the afternoon. I can understand now why, because she's worried about me. And God, if I could turn back the hands of time, I would change everything I did to make her so mad and not do all those things. Because she passed away of cancer, and, and
Yeah.
I hope I'm not the reason why she got worse because of the cancer. 'Cause, man, she had a hard time dealing with me, but it was my Sifu Taki Kimura who helped grounded me
Yeah.
and straighten me up.
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere in between there, you said you moved to LA and you kind of had a little acting career and still try to pursue it. Yeah. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, because being in the music business, you run into people involved with acting. Um, I remember when I first moved to LA, I wasn't in the movie, but my first taste of acting fame, which I wasn't a part of, was they had me cover a story at the LA Convention Center. And then I walked in there and I go, God, that guy looks like Jackie Chan. And I go, it is Jackie Chan wearing a tuxedo outfit. And then there was another dude next to him who was Chris Tucker. So they were filming Rush Hour 1, you know, and I got to meet Jackie Chan. So from then on, I started meeting other people, and the group IMX, they were in House Party 4. The guy, Chris Stokes, had me audition, and so I got a part as the airplane pilot for, it was called Gateway Airlines. And then that led to Concord of the Fist. So I did that, and I was also on ER, on NBC's ER. Uh, and to this day, I still do auditions. Like I recently auditioned for a new movie that Jennifer Lopez is in. I didn't get the part, but just the thought that she liked my picture and then wanted me to audition, it was kind of a compliment, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I feel like too, I mean, just even looking at you appear, I'm sure that planted the seed was seeing you appear in Posse on Broadway as well as Beepers. That kind of made you feel like, oh, this acting stuff is kind of interesting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it sure did. I love it. Like I said, I love being in front of the camera, man. It's just so much fun just to be someone else in your imagination. Just like being on the radio, behind the mic, I was pretending like I was the finest looking guy in the world, and everyone, I just love people, and then I wanted people to feel that, and yeah.
Now, obviously, I guess how long is it now? It's 30 years now. I believe there was a museum. There's been books that talked about like Seattle hip hop and all that stuff, and all that's starting to come out. That must be really cool to have people honor the work that you've done.
Yeah, it is. My hero growing up, I never really had a role model as far as like an actor or whatever, but Muhammad Ali was one of my heroes, and Bruce Lee. And when I found out, Bruce Lee started a lot of his career in Seattle, I wanted to follow in his footsteps. Little did I know I was going to be a part of his Gung Fu Club at 13. So, you know, I, you know, having role models like that inspired me to want to accomplish a lot of these things that I've accomplished. Yeah, and then there's a book that I read, and I don't like reading books. Believe me, I hate reading. But my sister bought me this book for my graduation present called "Think and Grow Rich" by Napoleon Hill. So I read that, and wow, it really changed my life. About writing your goals and saying stuff out loud all the time, always talking positive. And I would do that, and I noticed things start happening. And praying always helps too. I do a lot of that.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. So there are some questions in the chat. I'm trying to.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So we have.
It'd be nice.
So so actually, shout out to Grandmaster GMS. He's actually in the chat.
Oh, Grandmaster GMS, as you can see, I'm wearing his hat. Yes. I'm wearing. He's my DJ on every Sunday night. I do a show on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. It's called KFOX Night Beat, based on my original show on KFOX back in the days. And I always ended the show with a 30-minute master mix. And I've known him since he was like a little kid, I think. And, he's been there. I've been mentoring him. And, man, I passed the torch to him. And, yeah, so, like I said, you see the hat. That's him, Grand Mixer Jim, as he is one of the best out there. And very humble and loyal. Someone you can trust, And, when I first was on the radio, I used to use my real name, Nestor Rodriguez. Mm-hmm. And people would meet me and they would say, hello, Mr. Rodriguez. I heard you on the radio last night. I go, no, it's not Mr. Rodriguez, Nestor. So I decided to change my name. Go, you know what? I'm only like 17, 18 years old. I don't want to be called Mr. So I decided to use my nickname, even though it probably got people like upset hearing the name Nasty-Nes. But yeah, I've had it for this long and I've kept it. And it's been like a household name,
Yeah. So if anyone has any questions for Nasty-Nes in the chat, definitely type away. But so I had a couple questions. So actually, let's go to that because we didn't ask about that. So how did you come up with the name Nasty-Nes?
Well, it wasn't me. It was I was when I said I used to work at a health club. I used to work I used to train like the Seahawks members, and I used to be. I knew how to really train them so hard that they would pass out, and the owner of the club, he go, "Wow, man, that guy's nasty," and then he started calling me Nasty-Nes, and then also with my martial arts at the time, the slang word, if you're really good, was nasty. You go, wow, his kicks are nasty. So they took the nasty and the nester, they shortened it to Nasty-Nes, and I've been Nasty-Nes since maybe what 1978. Yeah, that long, and that's how I got my name.
It's stuck since then. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now that actually adds to it. So I guess I have two questions, kind of, because
Sure.
definitely notice, you had a certain presentation about yourself, right? It's always about, like you were saying, like at one point you changed to the sunglasses, and then a lot of times I always see is always the tanks. How that come about?
The what? The tanks?
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, like tank tops.
Oh, because I used to think I was buff and muscular, but really I wasn't.
Hey, you look intimidating though, for sure. Like in those pictures, like with the glasses, and just you're like, okay, don't mess with this guy.
Well, because I used to be that way back then. Like I said, I used to be the crazy Pinoy.
Yeah.
If you looked at me wrong, I would look at you wrong back, and I wasn't afraid to tell somebody what you're looking at. I'm not that way anymore though. But yeah. So the glasses and the jewelry, believe it or not, and you might not, people might hate me for it, but I'm a big fan of Elvis Presley, and he had that hair, that cool hairstyle, and then he had those rings, and then when he wore sunglasses, and he just looked so cool. And I said, man, I want to be like Elvis Presley. So Mix-a-Lot did a song called Ness Presley, and it was I ain't nothing but a DJ scratching all the time. And it got a lot of requests on my radio show for it, but we never put it out because we didn't want to get messed up by Elvis Presley estate. But Elvis Presley was contributed to my looks. Don't I look like him?
Yeah. There's a little resemblance there. I definitely noticed. Is that kind of why you did the hair that way? Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Totally makes sense.
Lots of Aquanet hairspray too. I had the dopest hairstyle back then. You think Dog the Bounty Hunter's got a nice hairstyle? Mine was doper than Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
I had Aquanet hairspray. The back of my hair went down to halfway past my back.
Yeah.
And it was. I miss my hair. I still got some.
Yeah. There you go. It's growing. So I mean, it's amazing, right? The career that you've had, these last 30, 40 years. I guess with technology, like you mentioned, Serato and MP3s and Napster and all that stuff. How did you attack all that stuff, and stay relevant and, be able to kind of roll with, the technology?
You know what? Just to be relevant, you've got to stay relevant.
Yeah. And
it's my Rap Attack DJs who keep me relevant, and people I associate myself with, like even Grandmaster GMS. I learned, I learned about MP3s. I learned all these techniques and converting and blah 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 blah. Because most people my age, they don't know a thing. They don't even know how to log on to Facebook. Yeah. But when you get my age, man, they really don't know how to do that. So I stayed relevant, and I pretty much can do a lot of these things that the young kids can do. All the computer stuff and so forth. You just gotta learn. You gotta, even with the music, a lot of people my age can't stand mumble rap, all that new stuff. But I appreciate it because rap has evolved. When NWA came out, people complained. When Hammer came out, people complained. Everything changes, and you're gonna get people that aren't gonna like it, and then you're gonna have a lot of people that do like it, I love everything. I don't love just hip hop. I love old school R&B. I love top 40. I love the Carpenters, the Partridge Family. I love the Osmond Brothers, man. Can you believe that?
Awesome. So Master Mix Crew asks, what would you do differently in your career if you could?
What would I do different in my career if I could? Wow, that's a really good question. Man, I probably health health-wise, I probably wouldn't have smoked, drank, snorted, you name it. I wish I never did a lot of that stuff because it all caught up to me, and I take pills every day to keep myself alive. Uh, I'm blessed that I'm still alive talking to you, but
Yeah.
if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't do those things. It was fun doing it. I felt invincible because I never had to see a doctor until I was maybe 45 years old, and then that's when I noticed, man, I don't feel too good.
Oh man. Yeah.
I actually had a mild heart attack, and
Oh
when that
geez.
happened, I quit smoking because I used to smoke a lot of cigarettes because I couldn't mix records unless I was smoking when I was DJing. I had to take a puff, scratch, DJ, take another puff. It was just a habit, no, seriously.
Oh wow.
And then like I said, I used to be scared to get behind the mic, so I would drink a lot so I wouldn't be scared to talk to the mic. And then when I started getting more famous, the clubs would give me free drinks, if I would play their favorite song. So I had like free electric iced teas, plus I could smoke cigarettes, and woo boy, that was fun. but but man, 20 years later, oh, I'm suffering now.
Yeah.
But I see a doctor every month and trying my best to take care of myself. Watch what I try to watch what I eat.
Yeah. Definitely. That's oh yeah, definitely take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So when did that heart attack happen, if you don't mind me asking?
That was probably around the year 2004, maybe
Yeah.
around that time. Yeah, I'll never forget that. The doctor said if you don't stop smoking, you're gonna die,
Yeah.
and I definitely didn't want to die. so
Yeah.
so I stopped cold turkey. Believe it or not, I stopped, and I stopped doing other things too. So I've been sober now for over 14 years, maybe quite a while. I've been pretty sober.
Salute to you. Definitely. I know it
Yeah,
must be
thanks,
tough.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes it takes drastic things to kind of help you you know.
Yeah, you know what? Unless you don't know what it's like till you hit rock bottom, and
Yeah.
I've learned from when they say you learn from mistakes and stuff. I've learned from hitting rock bottom and from my health hitting rock bottom with that. Just once you hit rock bottom, you either gonna go up or you're gonna stay at rock bottom and just be gone forever.
Yeah.
So I got back up again. So
Oh,
so right now I'm standing up, man. So I'm
yeah.
happy.
Definitely. Props to you. Definitely props to you. So Eric 2015 asks, how much of an impact do you think Filipino Americans have had on hip hop? Are Filipino DJs given the recognition in the industry?
Oh my gosh. I remember when I first met Hubert at the New Music Seminar in New York back in the 80s, and they were just starting to do DJ battles, Joe Cooley, Cash Money were the big names back then. And then Hubert wasn't really well known yet. But I tell you, Filipinos, man, they made a huge impact on DJing. Like
Mhm.
every DJ in the Bay Area that's Filipino. I mean, most of the Filipinos in the Bay Area are DJs. They took it to the next level. I'm really proud to see that. I mean, people like DJ Icy Ice, a close friend of mine. He's Pinoy. DJ
Mhm.
Redmatic, DJ
Mhm.
Babu, Shortcut. They're all Pinoys, man. I'm so proud to see them taking a part of hip hop and taking it to the next level, especially
Mhm.
with DJing.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, big, huge impact. Huge
definitely.
impact.
Yeah, that's awesome. So actually, that add on, I have a question to add on to that. Because obviously, for you, it for me, it's still amazing to hear like, oh wow, there was a Pinoy in the '80s, like on the radio promoting, and then who also was a big part of Sir Mix-a-Lot's career.
And DJing.
And DJing, yeah, especially DJing, everything like you've done, promoting, radio personality. Was it a hard I guess stairs, hard wall to climb as far as people being like, oh, looking at you as just like a Asian guy, like being like, who's this guy? He thinks he can spin, like, or he thinks he can be on the radio.
In the beginning, it wasn't because it was so new. I didn't really have competition.
Yeah.
Now everyone's a DJ, everyone's an MC. So it's a lot of competition. In my era when I first started out, I think the only other Asian person doing anything in hip hop was the late Fresh Kid Ice from Two Live Crew. So people would confuse me with him, even though I know I do not look like him. But if people would think I was him, if people would think he was me. So in the beginning, it was just him and I. But no, I never felt that in the beginning. But I do remember being at events, and sometimes people would look at me and they go, weak, whack, whack. It would really bother me because I didn't think I was. And Mix-a-Lot just said, don't let that make you depressed or anything. Let that comment make you stronger because, man, you're not weak or whack. You're not. So I just took that and it helped me make myself stronger. So, criticism, when I get it, it used to bother me a lot. Sometimes, though, I'll feel down and out, but, I use it to improve myself, maybe make myself better, even if they're wrong in what they're saying.
Definitely. Awesome. Real quick, Grand Mixer GMS
Yeah,
says, there you go.
Right.
He says nasty mixes back in the day were absolutely amazing. All of the DJs in the Northwest were recording and copying his mixes.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what? It's so cool that people did that and remember me for that. But it was, around maybe 1992, 94, I said, you know what? It's time for me to open doors for other DJs, not just me. So I invited other DJs to DJ on my show, like DJ in Seattle. These names people know in Seattle, like DJ B Mello, DJ Topspin, Cut Father, Supreme. A lot of these DJs, Grandmaster GMS. A lot of these people. I said, you know what? I've been doing this so much. I need to have the light shine on other DJs. And when you give back to other people, it comes back to you. So I feel happy that I was able to open doors for a lot of other DJs in the business. And and a lot of them are shining to this day, man. And I'm really at DV1, another perfect example out of Seattle. So
yeah, awesome.
Dilemma.
Yeah,
He's one.
Dilemma.
He's DJ. He's DJ.
DJ Newton says, I think Nasty-Nes needs a movie about his life and career. True pioneer.
Thank you. You know what? And I've been trying to, I've been trying to write a book, but I get so lazy writing.
Yeah.
But I think if I did do something like that, it would be really cool, man, because, I was just talking to my partner earlier today and how it started out, with two Asian guys. And we had nothing to do with that. We want to become big or popular or anything, but started a record label. And what came out of that was a gold and platinum albums. And the fact that it was two Asian guys, who would ever think that, and I think it would be kind of cool. I really want to be a role model to a lot of people, not just Asians, but to everyone. But if I could make an impact, in someone that's Filipino, that would mean a lot to me because, my mom always wanted me to make sure that I don't forget where I came from.
For sure. Definitely. Always remember your roots. Oh yeah. So Ed Lock, as people didn't know, so Ed Lock was Chinese, right?
Yes.
Is he still in the game?
Not so much, but you never know what can happen in the future. We still keep in touch.
Yeah.
We're still close, like family,
Yeah.
And, in this business, man, I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you now, you can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
But he's one of the very few I can trust. But man, this business, boy, I'm telling you, gosh, I wish I could share with you all I've gone through. But if you can find someone that you can trust or marry someone you can trust, you're truly blessed.
Yeah. What are other memorable moments you remember from, your 30, 40-year career? Like any funny moments, any?
Oh yeah, I got one real memorable moment. It was I think 1984, and at that time the only West Coast group that had a record out was probably just us and another group called the World Class Wrecking Crew. If you don't know who they are, that's the group with Dr. Dre, Yella, and Shakespeare, and Jerry Heller was their manager, and I think Michelle A was part of that group too. Anyway, we were invited to be on the Fresh Festival tour one show, but the show was in London, England, and so we were the only West Coast groups on the bill. It was us and the World Class Wrecking Crew. Everyone else was straight up East Coast. I mean, Bambaataa, all those big names, so they didn't know who we were. So, so I'll never forget that moment flying on the back of a 747 with Dr. Dre and his crew, and I became really good friends with them, and that's how it led to me being involved with NWA and Eazy-E. Anyway, we performed at the London, I think it was the Wembley Arena, and the movie Purple Rain just came out, right? And you remember in the movie, Prince would jump on the speakers with his guitar, all the girls would scream, and he'd be on the top of the speaker playing his guitar.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to try the same thing. Because there was a part in the song Square Dance Rap where they do the beatbox part, but I really didn't know how to beatbox. I would just lip sync. So I said, I'm going to jump on the speaker and I'm going to beatbox. So I jumped up on the speaker, and then, oh man, and I fell. And then I looked down, and it was really a big, steep fall.
Oh, geez.
And if there was a rope, the rope to open the curtains.
Yeah.
So I grabbed the rope, and then the curtain started moving, and I said, "Next!" Oh man, that was so much funny. And I probably could have really hurt myself, but if it wasn't for that rope, and then they all pulled the rope back up, and I had all these people watching, and that probably was my most memorable moment in hip hop history. Was at the London Fresh Festival where I was beatboxing on top of the speaker. I fell off the speaker trying to pretend I was Prince, and I grabbed on the rope, and then the curtain started closing.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, true story.
That's awesome. Fresh Kid Ice. So there is a picture of you guys, of you two.
Oh yeah, that's my boy, man. Yeah. That's really nice guy. Really nice guy.
Yeah. So did you guys, obviously at that time, did you guys kind of share your, us talking about, not having too many Asians in the group, in the industry? Like, were you guys kind of share some stories about that or anything? Or
you know what, not so much. When we talk, you really didn't talk so much about the Asian thing. I brought it up, but he didn't really talk about it much. But I do remember when we were flown out to Miami and we did the show with the True Live crew, and that's how him and I became really good friends. Our road manager, Larry, the white guy, he always wanted to get us paid up front before we do the show, and Luke didn't want to pay us yet. So Larry's one of those white guys who's like, he smart talker. You want to start stuff. That's Larry. So next thing I know, we're in this pool hall where all the thugs are in there that were friends with the True Live crew. They started circling us. And I was like, oh man. And Luke and I were really good friends. And I don't know what I did or said, but I calmed things down, and we ended up getting paid. And then Fresh Kid Ice and I became friends after that. I go, man, I don't want any beef with you guys, especially with Luke. But Luke and I were really good friends. But Fresh Kid Eyes, I told him, I go, hey man, whenever I fly out to places, people think I'm you. And he says, he goes, God, it's funny. They do that to me too.
Yeah.
Except he always had a broken arm, a paralyzed arm. And I asked him how that happened, because I remember I was traveling once, and someone goes, oh, your arm is healed. I go, what do you mean? You used to always have it in a sling. They go, oh, no, that's Fresh Kid Ice. That's not me. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So BTP Media Group says we have the last, rest in peace, Fresh Kid Ice. But BTP Media Group says we have the last interview with Fresh Kid Ice. Wow.
Wow. Christopher Wong. Yeah, I got to see him a few years ago. I introduced him to my wife, and real nice person, man.
This was a question that we started with like previous interviewees. So you live in LA. What's your favorite burrito spot?
You know what? My favorite burrito spot is definitely, it's not in LA. It should be in LA because that's where, this is the spot for all that. My favorite spot, trust me, and you're not going to agree with me, but it's Seattle's Taco Time. They got the best crispy beef burritos in the world with that sauce. I miss Taco Time. That's my favorite place for burritos.
So J-Mix is saying, "Yo, Taco Bravo in San Jose be a spot." And
really, Taco? No, there's a. I remember because I used to go to San Jose all the time. There was a place I used to always eat there called, I think it was called Chico's Tacos. Chico, I think it was called Chico's Tacos. I used to eat there all the time, but it cannot compete with Taco Time in Seattle.
Okay, and then Dilemma says Roberto's in SD has bomb burritos though. See, I told you, anytime we talk about burritos, everyone's like, no, this is the best. This is the best. So
yeah, you know what? San Jose was like my home away from home. That's where I got to meet Cameron, Paul, Alex Mejia. That's where I became good friends with Sway from Sway and Tech. With San Jose. You know, a lot of my roots in this business started was because of the Bay Area. Our very first show with Mixa that we did out of Seattle was in Oakland. And here's another memorable story. So we went in there, and we had no clue who the opening act was. We you know, they gave us the guy's name. We had no clue who he was, but we noticed that everybody in there looked like they were straight thugs. Even the women there looked like straight thugs. Like, man, I don't even want to get in a fight with the women there. But this guy comes up on stage, and then he keeps saying the B word all the time. Yeah, all the time. And I go, and people were cheering, clapping. I go, they like this stuff? There's no way this guy's going to make it in the business. Well, 6 months later, Too Short became a household name. And we opened up for Too Short. And him and I actually became good friends years after that. We were on a panel together in New York at the New Music Seminar. But he was the first young rapper I knew that was wearing a Rolex. And I go, wow, I want to be just like that. I want a Rolex too, you know. But yeah, that was our first show we did in Oakland at the Shrine Auditorium, man. Opening up for Too Short, and all he said was the B word, and people loved it. Sold out because of the B word.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think I did remember hearing that in a previous interview where you're like, "Who is this guy? What the?" And then blew up. Yeah. Yeah. So BTP Media Group wants me to ask you about DJ Prince Ice.
Oh yeah, he was like I said, the Bay Area played a big influence on me, and Cameron Paul was at the radio station KMEL, and I used to hang out there all the time. And at that station, I met people like the Latin Prince, Sway and Tech, Chuy Gomez, Prince Ice, all these guys that were like stars. You know, all the DJs, and that's why they were called the All-Star DJs, because they were stars, man, and they were all could DJ. They were all really good, and Prince Ice was one of the guys I've kept in touch with even to this day. I knew when he had hair to now when he's totally bald, so I've known him that long. Nice guy, good guy too, man.
So actually, Grand Mixer GMS asks,
him again.
I know your Sifu was a big part in your life. He wanted me to ask you, what was your best memory of your Sifu, Taki Kimura?
I have so many. You know, when I was a little kid, I used to just sitting in his office, and there would be a stack of 8x10s of Bruce Lee pictures with him and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This is before anyone knew of Game of Death. There would be cassette recordings of Bruce Lee being interviewed, books with Bruce Lee's handwriting. I used to see that. Those are some great memories. I remember being with my Sifu Taki, going up to the gravesite, visiting Bruce Lee's grave. But one that stands out the most, because he owned the grocery store, and then I used to see him sweep the floor and clean. I go, Sifu, why do you do that? You have other people that can do it for you. You own this place. And he said to me, he goes, well, Nestor, never feel that you're too good to sweep the floor. And that's all he said to me. And he said, I want you to think about that. And and one day you'll understand why I said that. So if you can understand what he meant by that, never feel you're too good to sweep the floor. I never feel I'm too good to do. You know, I don't think someone else who's from a low income or whatever has to do this when I can do it too. You know, I mean, never feel you're too good for someone. You know, be humble. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. I don't know. Just gotta understand the words. Never feel you're too good to sweep the floor.
Yeah.
So if you can think about it, dwell on it. If you can be like that, like I said earlier, if Wally and the Beaver and Leave It to Beaver can bond like that, if you can do it, this will be a better world, right?
Yeah, definitely, awesome. And I think this kind of connects a little bit what we're asking. What would you do differently if you grew up? But what would you tell your younger self?
Oh,
If you could talk to your younger self.
If I could talk to my younger self, wow, that's a good one, man. I would say, jeez, man, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. Learn from your mistakes. Don't trust, like, if you get married, you know, don't always trust your in-laws, because my first marriage was terrible, man. Oh my gosh, oh yeah, I would say if you're gonna marry someone, so if I'm gonna marry a girl, find out how the girl's parents are. So if you're around them and if they argue, they cuss a lot, fight all the time, well, your wife's gonna be the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's one thing I learned. And so I'm on my second marriage now, and so far so good, man. I'm really lucky. But yeah, if I could talk to my younger self, I would say that, because
Yeah.
man, being in love, when you're in love, and if you're especially in an abusive relationship, which I was in,
Mm.
it's so hard. People don't understand. Well, why'd you go back to him? Why'd you go back to her? But when you're in love, and even though it's abusive, it's really hard to not go back. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you're in those shoes, because I've been through it all. I've been in really abusive situations. I used to be abusive. I actually went to anger management for 1 year, and I asked if I could stay longer, and it really helped me out a lot, because anger is so destructive. When you do stuff out of anger, you'll regret it, especially verbally. If you
Mm-hmm.
say stuff verbally, it can be a very abusive thing. It can really hurt somebody. So
Yeah.
I've learned to control what I say. I've been, control my temper. So you don't want to see me when I'm angry, because you know what happened to the Hulk, right? When he gets angry,
Yeah.
Bruce Banner. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I do the same thing too. Except I don't turn green.
Wow. Yeah.
Nah,
Well,
but
it's amazing that you've worked on yourself, and definitely, it seems like you've are on this path now to
yeah,
being better as far as your mental health and your physical health. So,
yeah.
definitely props to you for sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Awesome. So I think that's pretty much it. But so if you can talk about, yeah, so last, just for the audience, talk
Sure.
about your Sunday night shows and
Okay.
anything else you want to promote.
Well, if you want to hit me up on social media, if you want to hit me on Facebook, although I'm like 8 friends away from reaching my total max of 5,000, so I'm really selective on who I add. But if I add you, consider yourself special. Facebook
I made
is,
it.
yeah, you made it, Julius. But if I hit 5,000, I might have to delete you to make more room. Anyway, my Facebook is at Nasty-Nes, Nastynes. What I use a lot is Instagram. I love Instagram. I'm trying to reach 1 million followers. I'm
Okay.
not even halfway there. But if you want to help me reach 1 million followers, at Nasty-Nes818, and Twitter, which I rarely use, maybe once a week, at Nasty-Nes1. So that's my social media. God, what else was I gonna say?
So,
My
sorry.
Sunday night show, real quick. It's
Yep.
called KFOX Night Beat. It's on Rainier Avenue Radio .world. The dot means, like .com. So
Mhm.
Rainier Avenue Radio .world from 9 to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's me playing all the classics that were once brand new, and they're classics now. We do mashup, we do remixes. We have Grandmaster GMS in the mix. Last Sunday night we had DJ Icy Ice as a guest DJ. He
Yep.
killed it in the mix, and props to my Pinoy brother for doing that. So yeah, that's my show, man. And then rapattacklives.com. That's my full time thing, man. And check out the High Children. Go on YouTube. J Hudson featuring me and the High Children. It's called J. We took a sample from a classic '70s song, which is one of my favorite songs. and I really hope that hits. And on the Filipino tip, the High Children, we have a song called Masarap, which means tastes good in Tagalog. And boy, that song is Masarap.
Nice, nice. So you have a couple. You have a couple. I guess Filipino artists in High Children.
Actually, one of the singers, Takesha, she's Pinay. Yeah, and you know, sometimes Roy Boy from Cube 93 in Seattle, he's Pinoy. He tags along and DJs. But yeah, I want to really thank you very much for taking time out for me.
Salamat pare. Salamat pare.
Oh man, my
Salamat
pleasure,
po,
man.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. For salamat po to you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm even adding the po. You know?
No, not even. But everyone, please give it up for Nasty-Nes. Type of 1 in the chat. Throw your emotes. Thank you so much for gracing us, you know, with 2 hours. I hope a lot of people learned a lot of cool stuff. Everyone's showing you love. We appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing. Oh, sorry, Big Rob G206. Yes. Oh, sorry. He says Nasty-Nes, you are a legend. Thank you for all you've done for Seattle, the culture, and Filipino history. Salute. Big up.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Big Rob. I don't know if he's big like his name, Big Rob. Oh well. Okay. I mean, you know, like Julius Caesar, the salad, Big Rob, and you should be a big guy. Yeah.
But it'd be funny though if his name is Big Rob, but he's like a tiny guy.
Yeah, man. Hit me up on my Instagram. Send me a picture of you, Big Rob.
Thank you guys. Everyone, peace. Thank you.
Peace,
See you guys.
Peace, love, and hip hop unity.